morning. I'm headed to the gym. I'm going to go swimming. Hold on. Let's see if I have this right. Okay. And I wanted to record some thoughts that I may not upload these anywhere, but I'm having some feelings about something at the moment, and so I wanted to just try saying it out loud. So let me just give you a little backstory here. For those of you watching me for your first time, I'm in the middle of chemo for breast cancer. And one of the things that anyone faced with having to do regular infusions of a drug comes up against is the idea of getting a port catheter, which is, I don't totally know the details about this, but it's, in my case, it would be a stent that goes, basically a little access point to one of my major arteries right up in here. See where I'm pointing? Near my collarbone. And it would be under my skin, so all you would see is the wound from where they put it in, and the scar from that, and then underneath that, like a kind of a little raised, sort of quarter-sized bump, a round little bump under my skin. And what that would do is allow the nurse to access, basically very easily access my vein for every time I go in for my chemo. One thing I've talked about this on earlier blogs and in vlogs and on my blog. One thing I have not mentioned is that it has never been offered to me. When I was first gearing up for chemo, the nurse that I was going to be working with looked at my arm and said, "Your veins are pretty good. I don't think you need a port right now." And I had several conversations with her and with another nurse and with my oncologist about it, because at the time I was also, along with the regular chemo, I was on a experimental drug that interferes with healing. There's a bump right there. And so my oncologist really didn't want me to have a port if I didn't need one, because she had seen people who were on that experimental drug end up with an opening in their skin going into their major artery that goes right into your heart that didn't heal, for weeks on end. And she was very adamant, "I don't want you to have a port if you don't need one. It's a surgery. A port has risks. It doesn't always work properly." So, and I've read people's stories about how for some people they're uncomfortable, and for others the placement wasn't right. And I think for most people, though, that have the port or eventually get the port, they're very glad of it, because chemo just really wreaks havoc on your veins, and there comes a point where it becomes difficult for the nurse to stick a needle in your vein and have it actually take. And so you end up being stuck repeatedly, and it's painful, and it's not just like getting a little prick for when someone's taking a little vial of blood. It's a bigger needle. It has this plastic sheath that goes down over it and into your vein that it hurts going in, and believe me, it hurts when it doesn't work. And I've had one instance of that so far, and I've been nervous about it. So I've been talking about this issue. So the thing that's on my mind is how it feels when people tell me you should get the port. And I'll tell you, people who've been through this and tell me that they recommend getting the port, I have no feelings about that. I feel fine about that. This is somebody who's been through it, who's got pros and cons under their belt that they have weighed, and they're talking from experience, and they're educating me. But when a healthy person who's never been through anything like this tells me to get the port, I get pissed. And you know what? I know you're trying to be helpful, and I know that you care about me, and I know that you're hearing what I'm saying, and it sounds like, you know, from the information that you have, that it sounds like it would be better, and you would if you were in my shoes, you think. I think whenever someone's going through a hard time and they don't talk about it to their loved ones, part of it is that they don't want advice. Advice should come when asked for. Otherwise, if you think you have something useful to say, ask first, do you want to hear to the person that you're advising? Because what I end up feeling like is, I end up feeling like, I'm trying to think about how it hits me. I just feel that much further away from what it's like to be in an easy for you to say position. What am I trying to say? I think, really, are you sure if you were in my shoes you would want a surgery where they're putting in a plastic thing that gives access, instant access to almost to your heart itself? Would you really want to, could you really imagine could you really put yourself in my shoes? Just imagine a month from now you're faced with this, really faced with this decision. You know, it's impossible. I couldn't do it. I honestly, if I was listening to these words, you know, 5 months ago when I had no clue that I had cancer and that I would be going through any of this, and somebody asked me, what would you do? It would feel like I could answer that. It would feel like it would be a no-brainer in some way. But when it comes right down to it, and like the memory of feeling like a normal, healthy, regular person feels like it's slipping away, and for me the port is like, it's like I don't know how to describe it. It feels like having a chip implanted in your brain so that you can be that much closer to the machine. It makes me feel like I become like part hospital. Like, I don't know, to me the idea of the port is devastating. And maybe, you know, it's in my future, and maybe once I have it, I'll be glad I have it. But it's not what I want. So, don't tell me, get the port, unless I asked for your opinion, unless you've been through it and I want to know what you think. So, all that said, those of you who told me get the port, I love you. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the situation that I'm in. And believe me, there will be another conversation with my nurse this week about, look, are we headed in that direction? What do you think? Okay. That's it for today.